In 1622, a woman walked into a room in Luanda designed to humiliate her. Her name was Nzinga Mbande, sister to the king of Ndongo. She was there to negotiate a peace treaty with the Portuguese governor, João Correia de Sousa. The governor had made a calculated psychological move. He sat in a gilded, high-backed chair, but he left no seat for Nzinga. In the rigid etiquette of the 17th century, to stand while your counterpart sat was to acknowledge you were a subordinate, not a peer. It was a psychological trap. But Nzinga did not flinch. She made a slight motion to one of her attendants, who immediately dropped to all fours, creating a human bench. Nzinga sat. Now she was looking the governor directly in the eye. She had won the negotiation before a single word was spoken. For the next 40 years, this woman would become the most formidable adversary of the Portuguese Empire. In an age of early colonial expansion, Nzinga didn't just resist, she outmaneuvered. Today, we look past the myths to the reality of a leader who was a master of three worlds: the battlefield, the diplomat's table, and the complex spiritual landscape of her people. To understand Nzinga, we must understand the stakes. By the late 1500s, the Portuguese weren't just traders, they were expanding inward, driven by the demand for labor in their burgeoning sugar plantations in Brazil. Nzinga was the daughter of the Angola, the king. While she wasn't the primary heir, she was the intellectual standout of the royal court. Colonial records from the time note her fluency in Portuguese, a rare strategic asset that allowed her to read her enemy's correspondence and draft treaties without the filter of a translator. When her brother Mbande took the throne, the kingdom was in chaos. The Portuguese were squeezing Ndongo, using divide-and-conquer tactics by arming rival tribes. Recognizing his sister's superior diplomatic mind, he sent her to Luanda to handle the Europeans. That brings us back to the human chair. Her defiance wasn't mere pride, it was an assertion of sovereignty. She secured a treaty that day and even accepted a strategic Catholic baptism, taking the name Dona Ana de Sousa. But as a pragmatist, Nzinga knew a piece of paper only held value as long as the power behind it remained credible. The peace was short-lived. Following her brother's death in 1924, an event shrouded in historical debate, with some sources suggesting suicide and others poisoning, Nzinga seized power. But here is where the story gets incredible. Faced with a coup from within and a Portuguese invasion from without, Nzinga made a move that redefined her reign. She led her people on a literal exodus, moving hundreds of miles east to conquer the neighboring kingdom of Matamba. She transformed Matamba into a sanctuary for runaway slaves and a military powerhouse. To bolster her forces, she allied with the Imbongala, fierce nomadic mercenaries known for their ritualistic discipline. By adopting their customs, she bridged the gap between traditional royalty and the warrior cults of the interior. She was no longer just a displaced princess, she was the guerrilla queen, and she had built a new state from the ground up. For the next 4 decades, Portugal sent expedition after expedition to capture her. They failed. Nzinga's military strategy, documented in various Jesuit accounts of the era, was decades ahead of its time. She understood she couldn't win a conventional pitched battle against European muskets. Instead, she pioneered what we now call asymmetric warfare. First, she mastered intelligence. She operated a vast network of spies, many of them women who infiltrated Portuguese camps as servants. Second, she prioritized mobility. Her troops moved through the heavy terrain with a speed the armored Portuguese could not match. And third, she utilized global diplomacy. In the 1640s, as the Dutch fought Portugal for control of the Atlantic, Nzinga reached out. She formed the first major African-European alliance against a colonial power,
nearly driving the Portuguese out of Luanda entirely. Picture this. Nzinga was now in her 60s, still fighting, still leading her troops personally, still winning. She didn't just survive, she dictated the terms of the conflict. We often want our historical heroes to be simple, but Nzinga was a woman of her time. She was a Christian when it served a diplomatic purpose, and a traditionalist when she needed the loyalty of her warriors. She participated in the slave trade to fund her kingdom's survival, yet fought against it when it drained her nation's people. She was, above all, a master of impossible circumstances. Nzinga died in 1663 at the age of 81. In an era where the average life expectancy was under 35, and she spent 40 of those years in active combat, she died peacefully in her bed. Think back to that woman in 1622 who refused to stand. 40 years later, despite the might of an empire, she was still sitting on her throne. She is one of the few leaders in history who faced the dawn of European colonialism and held it at bay for an entire lifetime. History remembers the conquered and the conquerors, but it often overlooks those who successfully navigated the middle ground. Nzinga Mbande proved that power isn't just about firepower, it's about understanding the room. If you value this deep, evidence-based look at the figures who shaped our world, please subscribe. It helps us continue to produce history that respects the complexity of the past.